Well, fall is here, and you know what that means. Apple everything.
Yes.
Apple everything.
Or
and whether
pumpkin.
you are or pumpkin, it can be both, but it doesn't matter if you're into sweet treats like caramel apples or pies. There is something out there for everyone.
Yes, and this morning we have a sweet tooth, and our next guest is helping us out. A cookbook author, television personality, and creator of DishItGirl.com. Dina Deleasa-Gonsar is here, and she is joining us now with some great ideas with what to do with all those apples. How do you like them apples?
How do you like them apples?
I love that. You know, when you go apple picking, you get like the huge bag, and you dump them all in, and then you get them home, and you're like, well,
now what do I do?
Done,
First of all, before we dive into what to do with them,
Yes.
can you just give us some pro tips on picking apples? So we go apple picking. How do we spot a good apple?
Sure. So you want the apples that are red all the way around, because it depends upon which way they're facing the sun, how they ripen. So you'll see some are only red in the front, but maybe a little bit green, not totally developed in the back. You want to make sure maybe there's no worms that crawled through them. You can see like the little holes. But also, there's some apples on the ground, because I visited a farm called Ryamede in New Jersey. They had their 50th anniversary, and they were giving us some apple picking tips, and they say some of the apples that hit the ground are actually the best ones. Just because they fell off the tree doesn't mean they're not perfect. So if you can't reach those ones high up with that apple picker thing, take a chance, look below too.
Good tip.
So what are some of your favorite things to make with apples?
So we all love a traditional apple crisp. It's quick, it's easy, but I also love these baked apples I have over here. It's kind of the same idea, but you're stuffing them and you're using a little bit of either an apple bourbon or an apple whiskey if you're gonna make it just a little bit more flavorful to cook them in, and they come out really nice, and it's actually pretty simple.
We're gonna make one?
Yes, we're gonna make one. I'm gonna show you. So
some people are gonna look at that and go, "That's too hard."
It's not. I'm gonna tell you a secret. I'm not the best baker. So all of these things are super easy. I'm a cook through and through, but sometimes I struggle with that baking. But
so
all you're gonna do is you're going to cut off the top, off with its head.
Yeah.
And if you want it to be a little bit sturdier, if it's a little wobbly, it's okay to trim a little bit off the bottom. No one's gonna get upset with you. Yes. And then I have a melon baller. It's like just a regular kitchen tool. You can also just use a regular spoon, but what I would say is, I'm gonna use a fancy word, score. You're gonna score the top of the apple, which is really just making tic-tac-toe. But if you have a melon baller, all you're gonna do is scoop it out like that. And while you're scooping out the middle of the apple, you wanna make sure that you're leaving a nice thin ring around. Try not to poke the actual
Is it
skin.
hard to get the core? When you get down to the core, is that a
You want to try?
The
I feel like I should try. But then I feel like if I can't do it, I'm going to get ridiculed by
Honestly, my
Dan
husband
Marino
helped me with some of these yesterday, and while he was doing that, I was busy making the oatmeal mixture. So Hazel, if you'd like to, you can, all it is some rolled oats. You're going to dump those into the bowl. We have a little bit of brown sugar. Some raisins.
How deep do I go here?
What do you do though with
You're
all?
good. There you go.
What do you do with all the extra apple stuff?
So what you're gonna do is you're gonna chop up the extra apple stuff and throw some of it into there.
So smart.
And so dump all this, right?
Yes, dump it all. Just everything you got over there, we're gonna dump. And we're gonna make sure that there aren't any seeds in there, and just give it a little rough chop.
True or false, if you eat an apple seed, an tree will grow in your stomach. My grandma told me that.
I gotta tell Sienna that.
No?
She'll love that.
I think that's false.
So you want me to even pour this in here?
You're gonna pour, just start with a little bit, just like a little tablespoon of it, and you're gonna wet the mixture a little bit more. Okay, and you're looking for wet sand. And so what we would do is we would stuff the apple with that mixture. So we're gonna put a little bit more in there.
Oh yeah.
You guys are good. I need you guys in my kitchen.
We are the best sous chefs you could.
Do I need to pour this in?
You could put a little bit of cinnamon. You should.
How do you not eat this while you're? Because I'd be like taking a bite and then mixing.
I do. I eat a lot as I go along. And you know what? I'm gonna have you stuff the apple because I feel confident.
Do you really?
That you can do that.
What a vote of confidence!
I think we got it here.
Can I just get my hands right in there? Are we okay with that?
Yeah,
Can we just agree?
I'm into it.
That the health department would never approve of this, but I'm gonna do it. Oh.
It's wet though.
And then Hazel points out that there is in fact a scooper, and I don't need to dig my
I love that. So you're
and
just going to
how high up
spoon
do I
it
go?
in.
Do I over?
Yeah,
I like to
overpack a little
overstuff
bit?
with that.
Yeah.
Look at that. That is
Look at
perfect.
this, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it smells
I know.
so good.
We've got professional apple cores, fillers, everything here.
Oh yeah, the recipe's up on your screen, by the way. If our confusing way of doing this is confusing, the whole recipe's right there.
I love it. And so what you would do is you would take this little bit of leftover, whether you used apple whiskey or apple bourbon. Even if you don't have those, you could use a little bit of white wine, and it would be
What is in that one right now?
So this one, apple whiskey. So, I had to keep it real. You just pour a little bit into your Pyrex or your baking pan, and you're going to put that into the oven at 400 degrees covered for 20 minutes.
And the alcohol bakes off, by the way. It's just
does.
just
So
for
the
kids.
kids, can the kids eat this?
Yeah.
They can. I mean,
Yeah.
Sienna,
With
she's
adult
good.
supervision.
Yes, with
Right.
she's good. Also, maybe if kids are eating it, just use a little bit of apple juice, apple
okay.
cider. That's
Right.
okay.
Should I get this out of the way so you can get in there? Yeah. Here we go.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh my
Okay.
goodness, this is a treat. I have all this help in the kitchen.
We're coming
I love
over.
it.
Now what?
Okay, so here we have just some apples, and we're going to make an apple galette, which is kind of a rustic tart. So it's a little bit more forgiving than a pie. If you're someone like me who sometimes has two left hands with the dough, this is going to make you look really fancy, but
you
again,
aren't.
you aren't. So what I do first is I roll out the dough.
Okay.
And then it just, and again, you see, it's not a perfect circle or anything. It doesn't need to be perfect.
Did you make your own dough?
I did. It's just butter, sugar, flour, a little bit of salt. You pulse it in a Cuisinart or just a food processor, and it becomes a dough.
But I could buy like a pre-made.
But yes, I mean, I've done
I'm
that
lazy,
plenty of
and I
times.
am.
You buy, and that's being real and practical.
Yes.
Lazy. I appreciate that. You can just buy it in the grocery store, put it out into the pan, and in here I have some baking soda, some cinnamon, some ginger, some brown sugar, and just
Use the
you know
same
what, why
spoon.
not?
That's fine.
Why not?
And you mix that up because that's going to help them caramelize inside the tart.
Yeah.
And this one has a little bit of a twist because it's a little bit savory as well. We're going to use some cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese and apples go beautifully together.
Huh. How do you feel about that, Hazel?
How you like them apples? I don't know. I would have never thought.
Yes, and so what I also do is sometimes I chop up a little bit of rosemary and put it into the mix with the cheddar. That's good as well. A little bit of salty, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of savory in there. So you're going to lay your cheese down.
Okay.
And then you're going to take your apples, and this is where you get crafty. Because you get to
Oh,
be
'cause you
all,
gotta
this
make
is
it
where you
nice.
get fancy.
You've like fanned them out over there. It's really.
We're going to leave this one to Dina.
I know, I'm like a one-trick pony with this. Just have them all go the same way.
Okay.
And just layer them around in
Hey,
a circle.
before we run out of time, will you tell us about the little candied apple charcuterie board? That's such a cool.
This is a kitty favorite. So you love those caramel apples, and you put the caramel in the middle, and you have all the treats that you could use with the apple slices. They could dip them in the caramel, choose to do the M&Ms, maybe they could choose some nuts. And it's just a fun little activity to have out after you go apple picking.
Well, these are really great ideas, and they're not that complicated.
They're not. See, this fold over is not so bad. You're just going to keep
fold it over on the
folding and
sides.
manipulating. Yep. And you see it's going to come out really pretty. It's going to come out just like that,
And it looks
I
like a
promise.
fancy French pastry.
It does.
Wow.
Made at home.
It
Dina,
does.
thank you so much for sharing these great ideas.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Now we have plenty to do with all damn apples. And you can follow Dina on her blog at dishitgirl.com.